Hey Ringside crew, welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe Panther III.
Hey, hello there, wrestling fans! To another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. I am Joe Panther III, and Ringside crew, I am absolutely over the moon. Let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to my friend and yours, Angel. Welcome, Dudes at Ringside, Angel. Welcome.
How you doing?
Thanks.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So let's go way back, way back for you. Where did this love of professional wrestling start for you?
So, I watched wrestling as a kid. I loved it. It was fun, but the kind of kid I was, I didn't stick with it. I was too busy being a maniac. I was in gymnastics, track and field, baseball, I was in a sport. If it was a season for a sport, I was competing in it. So, watching TV wasn't really something I did unless it was like snowing or raining.
Mm.
But
So
I loved it. I thought it was great. Combination of athleticism and performing arts, having those interesting characters. I liked it.
okay.
But I didn't grow up thinking one day I'm going to do this. No. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I had to kind of feel it out. And I knew I wanted to pursue fighting and martial arts. And so that's where the story began for me. My black belt journey in Taekwondo led me to being a teacher and competing in Olympic style Taekwondo. And then I got the opportunity to learn shoot fighting from Bart Vale in Miami. I was living in Florida at the time. So I knew because of the UFC and what was happening with UFC that this MMA thing, it was called all different things then, was going to be the future, and I wanted in on that. So I started training with Bart Vale, went to Japan, and when I was in Japan fighting no holds barred, I saw the women doing Japanese style, strong style pro wrestling. And I was like, what is that? That looks really cool. And I started talking to Reggie Bennett, who's an original Glow girl. She was the construction worker, and she had a great career in Japan. And she really worked on me. And she was like, "You got to get into it. You got to try it. When you try it, you're gonna love it." So when I come back from Japan, I was looking for a place to train. I really wanted to train with a woman who knew the strong style. So I found Liz Chase in West Palm Beach and started training with her. And Reggie was right. As soon as I got into the ring and started learning, you couldn't get me out. I would go to practice, and I would leave when it was like too buggy to stay and too dark.
Mm.
I
You said
just
you were
fell in
in
love with it.
Japan. I'm sorry. You were in Japan. Did like I know in Japan they have different styles. Is it like was it like much more difficult to train in Japan than when it comes to back to America, their different training regiments and style they do things?
No, not for me. I was a martial artist, so I was teaching six classes a day, 5 days a week, and teaching four classes on Saturday, and competing in tournaments all day on Sunday. So the training I was used to a really high level, high intensity training. When I would go train with Bart, there was no air conditioning on in the dojo. It was Miami, uh, Southwest Miami-Dade, Florida, and it was like 90 degrees inside the dojo. And the way that you train is you fight until you can't fight anymore. And then you take a break. And when you're ready to come back, you start fighting. I would get my full 60 minutes out of my hour of training. I mean, there would be people puking in the bathroom,
Mm,
people that were martial artists that would come and train. They were not used to that intensity. But that's where I started from. So anything else, just seemed normal or
mm. So let's go a little bit further in your career. When you finally got the green light to go for your first match, like what what was it? What was going through you?
I think, are you talking about fighting or are you talking about MMA?
You
I
could
mean,
you could
pro
you could talk
wrestling.
about both, like your MMA, like your first MMA match. What were you thinking when the first time you walked to the ring? Like, do you like most people have different feelings about their first match?
So for fighting, the thing that the mentality is totally different. For fighting, the mentality is, I got to do whatever the frig it takes to beat this girl's ass and walk away whole. And I got to do that as soon as possible because you go into it respecting the damage that everybody can cause you. And you recognize that, and that is respect. You never underestimate anybody, no matter what they look like or what they fought like in the past. The mentality for pro wrestling is a little bit different. It's more about, in the beginning, it was, geez, I don't want to mess up for everybody, I want to have a perfect match. Of course, there is no such thing as a perfect match. You have to really, what I learned over the years after that, the most important thing is to stay in good communication with the people that you're in the ring with. But the people watching are the most important thing about your match.
Mm. Yeah.
But it takes a
Now,
while to learn that.
now, when it comes to like your regular wrestling matches, um, do you ever like go into your MMA style when it comes to certain matches? Do you like most wrestlers have different styles they go through? Like some wrestlers are grapple, some wrestlers are like street fighter. Do you? I say street fighter, like like brawler. Do you count yourself more as like a Ken Shamrock style that sometimes you can be scrapping, sometimes you can be going into the sleeper holds and the submission holds?
I would say, Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn, that I would fashion myself more of a female Taz,
Okay.
because I'm ECW and because that is really the style of strong style. Um, what Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn do as pro wrestlers is very similar. It is based on shoot wrestling technique, but they're more known, for the things that they do. I would say the things that I do and the techniques and the moves that I do are more like a Taz because there's a lot of suplexing and um, it's just more strong style, I think.
So, do you remember the first time you stepped in the ring for like a death match, like a hardcore match? And what would have been like? Do you remember the moment you went in for the hardcore match, or would you do you call them death matches, or death match and hardcore match for you would be a different style?
I would say that I'm pretty well known for being a pioneer female for hardcore style wrestling, if you want to call it death match or
Mhm.
street fight.
Yeah.
I'm also probably one of the first few women that would be known or pushed intergender wrestling. And when I was doing hardcore, girls wouldn't do it with me. So I had to wrestle dudes in order to do hardcore until after my time in ECW, which would be like 2003. Then through WEW, Women's Extreme Wrestling, that's when it kind of connected me to other women that wanted to do hardcore wrestling. And I love that style. I love the Terry Funk. I mean, that is also in Japan, they do that as well. So, and they've been doing that for a very long time. They that style of wrestling over there is, that's why a lot of the ECW people would go to Japan, and it was like interchangeable because it's the same style. People may call it different things, but it's essentially the same. And then you just add the layers of intensity to it by the types of weapons or obstacles that you put in the way for the contestants, combatants, the wrestlers to try to overcome that and each other.
Yeah.
I love
So,
it.
oh yeah, I watch a hardcore match because I have Peacock and I can go back and watch all the old ECW stuff, and I just sit back. I'm like, if I had a popcorn machine in my room, I don't know if I'd eat it immediately because sometimes those matches get a little. Do you go back and watch the stuff on Peacock and just watch all that all that old ECW stuff and just sit there and go, wow, we were badass.
Sometimes they do, yeah, because we start talking about things, and then I'm like, I want to go watch that now because when when you're on a show, for me, I can't really watch the matches before my match. I peek and I look a little bit, but I really got to stay focused on what I'm supposed to do so that I really have it in my soul. And I visualize it, what I want to happen beforehand. Sometimes you don't get to do it the way you visualize it, but it's good to visualize it. It's something I've always done my whole life. And that helps manage the anxiety. Um, But yeah, when I start talking to somebody or I see somebody and I think, "Oh yeah, I remember that time when we were in Chicago or when we were in Indianapolis or whatever it was." I'm like, I want to go back and watch that because I probably missed a lot of it. When I would get done with my match, I would go watch the rest of the show, but it was everything before me I didn't get to watch. So
Hmm.
it is fun to watch it now, and I definitely appreciate it more.
Do you for tonight for the ringside crew? Do you have any stories from anything from ECW that you could talk about that you won't get yourself in trouble?
Um, yeah, well, I think the craziest thing was when we were in Ann Arbor, Michigan, getting ready for I don't even remember what the pay-per-view was that we were getting ready for, but there was going to be Flamin' Tables match on the card. So I had to start. I was with, Simon Diamond and part of the Sideshow Freaks, but I would also um, valet Bill Wiles and sometimes Tom Marquez because I was supposed to be his sister, right? That's why I was the prodigy and the prodigy. We were like, um, so I instigate and start a whole thing so that we have a tag match with Chili Willy and Balls Mahoney, and then they put me through the flaming table. I will tell you what, before the match, when they knew that they didn't tell everybody, but some people knew I was going to go through the flaming table. There were people the wrestlers, like I found out, that I was like family because they were legit like scared for me. And they were like, "Are you sure you really want to do this? You don't have to do this." Because it was something that they like personally wouldn't do, go through flame and table. But I just prepped myself. I wet myself down. All my clothes, I wet it down so that I would. It made it a little bit harder. I think I messed up one of my moves because it was a little wet, a little too wet. But
Mm,
it was a little nerve-wracking, knowing that I'm going to go through flame and table. The
mm.
most important thing for a girl is our hair,
Yeah.
so I was like, that's what I was nervous about.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to go through the flaming table and then your hair has a little bit of gel in it that night because you want to look the hair looking good, and then that one little spark that when you go to that table, whoosh, yeesh, you have a faux hawk at the end of the night.
Yeah, that would have sucked. But no, everything went great. Everything was perfect. Except for like I said, I messed up one little spot and it was because I was too slippery. The bottom of my boots were filled up with water from my clothes being so wet. So that's the one thing about wrestling when I would tell anybody who's starting off, you really have to practice what you're going to do exactly the way you're going to do it at the time. Don't do something for the first time ever on a live show. That's not fair to yourself, and that's not fair to everybody else in the match with you. You really need to exactly practice what you're going to do um, ahead of time, if there's any way possible. Now I know you can't like break sheets of glass, maybe that might be hard to do ahead of time, but you do have to somehow find a way to like replicate what's going to happen, because you have to be prepared. Like I realized after that, next time, really just focus on wetting myself, like my hair and the top of my body, probably to my hips, and not worry about my legs because the water's gonna, if I soak myself well, because of gravity, the the water is gonna fall down, the rest of my body, because my boots filled up with so much water that it was a struggle. So if I
Ooh,
would have practiced that ahead of time, just the way I was supposed to do it, I would have known, duh, don't do that, and I would have had a better match. So that's my advice.
mm, yeah. That's scary that your boots got filled with water. Like, did I know when you like wear construction boots and you're outside doing work, and the boots get a little wet when if it gets a little rainy because it. You said you were in like the normal size wrestling boots, Angel, or were they
Oh
like longer
no.
boots?
No, I always use um the type of a boot that the police or the SWAT team or the firemen wear. It's like combat boot, but lightweight, made out of like almost like a canvas. I don't, they're I forget what you would call. I think the kind I use are like Lady Magnums.
Okay.
They're called, but there's all different brands that make those type of combat boots. There were times that I used real combat boots and like high heels and stuff, but that was when I was like managing and I knew I wasn't really, really wrestling. I
Mm,
did have like a spot that I did, and I was wearing like platform high heel boots, but if I was going to have a match, then I would wear that other style.
yeah.
When I broke both of my feet, I
Ooh.
was wearing those Asics style with the thin sole martial art type of, or Olympic style wrestling boot,
Ooh.
sneaker boot.
Okay.
And that's when I broke both my feet, so I never wore that kind again. I
What
went
were you
back to
doing
those
when you broke
combat
both
boots.
feet? what were you doing in the match that you broke both feet?
I was in a ladder match in WEW and they gave me a stripper referee and we told her like 20 times you got to hold the ladder. She was like, "Yes, you told me 20 times. Of course I'm going to hold the ladder." And then she didn't hold my ladder. She was too busy bending over, shaking her bum and trying to steal the shine a little bit from me because I was going up the ladder in the middle of the ring, which was the high spot, and this person didn't hold the ladder, man. And I missed the table. I was wrestling Sumi Sakai. It was ECW Arena. It was WEW pay-per-view. We were main event, and this clown doesn't hold my ladder. I missed my table by about a foot. So I know if she would have held the ladder, I definitely would have made my spot because I
Oh,
didn't miss it by so much. But I had to sacrifice my feet, right? Because I understood immediately that she didn't hold my ladder because I could tell because I have practiced it many times before. So I knew I could do it. And I could tell by the way it was going, this girl didn't hold my ladder. So I immediately knew like you can't try to land on concrete with both your feet, like the bionic man and woman. That will break your legs like all the way up to your knee because that
mm,
energy is just going to shoot up your leg and shatter out your bone.
mm.
So I slapped my one foot and then landed with the other foot and then I rolled out. I tried to mitigate the impact as much as possible, but I I shattered my one foot and broke the other. So I had to roll under the ring to regain my composure and be able to finish my match. It took me a couple of times to figure out how to stand up where I could walk. The crowd was with me and they knew I was messed up. They were very, very concerned. But I finished my match. Everybody gave me a standing ovation because I finished my match. And and then I just went to the hospital later.
Oh, wow.
So I actually just had operation on that foot that I shattered. And because over the years, that was like 10, 15 years ago already, that things shifted inside there and I needed to have everything redone. So I'm healing up from major reconstructive surgery to my foot.
Oof. What is that like to have a rehab like that on your foot?
Oh, it's crazy. So I had to be in a cast for 60 days. It was a little bit more than that. So that was tough. They changed the cast because they have to check the wounds, make sure your wounds are healing right. You get a, major renovation. I got bone fusion and got hardware taken out and new hardware put in, and then everything reattached. I was having really bad problems with my Achilles tendon also, but I think everything's fixed.
Mm.
I'm finally walking full weight. You have to gradually go from not walking at all and being in a cast for at least 60 days to then partially walking with a boot on because you have to be like strapped in. You can't wiggle. Everything's got to continue to heal perfect, and then they just keep taking x-rays to make sure the bones are fusing right and healing right. So all my bones are fused right, healed perfect. Mwah. So
Good.
now it's just a soft tissue and the rest of my body getting used to this difference. A lot of tendons, ligaments, muscles, everything was like, whoa, everything's different now. And I really had to, I think maybe like it's very recent. I can't even tell you how many days it's been to where I can finally walk fully and push the ball of my foot off the ground and not be like, like it's like, yes.
You could finally
Okay, I
walk.
could do this. I can walk. Yeah.
Like now that you're getting back, your foot is back to normal. Have you been working out to get yourself officially back in the ring, or have you worked yourself back in the ring yet for like a match or anything yet like that?
No, that's what I'm working on next. You know, I was a little leery of going to the gym because uh I didn't want to take a chance that I would do something twisting it funny and when it was still in that other phase. So now that I'm in this phase, I feel confident that no matter what happens, I'm able to move and be agile enough that I can protect myself and make sure that nobody steps on me or does anything and move forward with weightlifting. That's the next phase. I'm gonna get
So
jacked.
yes, you gotta get Jack. You gotta be like, bam. You have to make a muscle next to Jason Knight and have him go, wait, what the? Like, yeah. That's another
Yeah.
person that I know of. He's a good guy. Mr. Knight. Mr.
Yes,
Jason.
they're going to be opening their school. And when I finally finish my training, I'm going to be a trainer at the school.
Where is his school exactly? Because I know he's opening one.
It's Williamstown, I think, New
Williamstown.
Jersey, or uh, I think that's it. I think it's Williamstown.
I
It's
thought
in
this.
kind of southwestern New Jersey. It's like in between Atlantic City and Philadelphia,
Oh wow.
but
Yeah, maybe he
it's
moved.
just yeah.
He was out
Yes.
by me in the
He's in
Milford area,
Jersey
and
now.
it made me laugh because he was like he was when I met him. I still worked at Walmart, and people he was we came started doing chat. We were chatty because he's Jason Knight. He's a big dude, doesn't really chat much, but he would see me. What's up, Joe? And everybody's like, oh, you know Jason Knight? I'm just like, doesn't everybody know Jason? like, like, and they know. And this before I was Joe Panther the Third, dudes at ringside, internationally known with this beautiful gold belt behind me. Jay, like everybody doesn't everybody know Jason right Knight? And they're like, no, Joe, you're the only one that really see. He sees you and he goes, oh my god, hey Joe, what's up, dude? And I'm like, what's up, man? You know what I mean? Like, not everybody could say an ECW guy sees you and goes, "What's up, man?" Like it's crazy. Like for you being an original ECW OG, what does it feel like to have a crowd see you and they recognize you from back then? What does it make it feel like to you that you like? It's like a young fan that's not really old enough saying that they were at the shows, but their dad was at the show, but they've seen your stuff and now they're like, oh, I'm a huge fan of your stuff now.
I mean, it's a great honor, and I'll always be moved, in soul to soul of when I come in contact with people that love ECW so much. They were the greatest fans. It was so much fun wrestling in front of that crowd. And I'm telling you, that crowd, if you were not really comfortable, accomplished, confident in yourself wrestler, man, they would have chewed you up and spit you out. They were the best. I mean, I loved it. I loved every second of it. And I love interacting with people now who are just being introduced to ECW and they weren't there live. That's great. You're going to see stuff that was when you're watching it, you're going to see stuff that was the first time that was ever done in wrestling. And
Hmm.
and it's pretty amazing to be a part of something that is the first time anybody's seeing this. That's what I love about intergender wrestling. I love doing it because some people are like, this is blowing my mind. I've never really seen a girl wrestle a guy. But for me, as a martial artist, and it's the foundation of why I got involved with martial arts and what my overarching mission is, and that is for women to be empowered to never underestimate themselves in any situation. If you are challenged, you have what it takes in you. If you just remain calm and confident in your talent, ability, skill, you can overcome it. You can achieve your dream. If it's some dude trying to steal your pocketbook, or you decide that you want to own your and run your own business, or you want to quit smoking and or start being whatever your challenge is that you want to change in your life, I hope that they see my stuff and that they're inspired.
Yeah. I also noticed, Angel, that I saw when I was scrolling through your stuff when you were emailing me and I went to your website. I noticed that you put through a Hall of Fame, a women's Hall of Fame.
Yes,
What
I'm
does that feel like?
co-founder. Well, I mean, sometimes it feels overwhelming because people have all these expectations of what that should be and what that should look like. But I have the reality of the resources that I have, and I can only do so much. I wish I could do everything all at once and have it be like, voila, here it is, the finished end result. But it's only just getting started. And so proud of what we have accomplished and the people that we have drawn attention to, because it is changing the awareness of wrestling fans and wrestlers in the business now to look at where we have come from. So, the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame that I co founded with Gary Wolf, Christopher Nino, and Susan Tex Green, and there are many other people that are involved with it on the board, um, to draw attention to the history of women's wrestling so that we understand how we got to where we are, so that we can continue to have it as a platform and celebrate women who maybe weren't celebrated in the past so much, because it seems like whenever you talk about women's wrestling, everybody talks about Moolah, but there were a lot
Yep.
of other women that were involved in wrestling around the world at all different periods in time that were not affiliated with her. Some were, but they also still deserve their own spotlight, because in many ways, maybe when Moolah was alive or at the time, they weren't able to shine as bright as of a light and a talent that they were at the time, because there were people in control that they had the shine, and they weren't going to share it so much.
Yeah.
So that's a part of the mission that I have personally, to know where our roots are and the women, what other women had to go through to be who they were and pursue their dream and see what they had to overcome just to be who they were and what they lived through. Um, Ethel Johnson, Babs Wingo, and their sister, they were the first African American women in pro wrestling. That was a big thing for me, to get everybody to have that awareness, to see that movie by Chris Bourneau, Lady Wrestler, and
Mm.
he did a documentary on their life and what it was like for them to be African American women and wrestlers during segregation in the USA
Oh,
and
wow.
in the Deep South in some places, and
Where
their
they weren't
stories
accepted.
of what, yeah, and what they went through. So that's
Wow.
hardcore.
Yeah.
That
That's
they're hardcore.
I find that
So
so amazing, that what you're doing with the women's revolution and the women's Hall of Fame. Is there any, like, women's wrestlers that you're like, people with their own Hall of Fame, like WWE's and stuff like that? Do you have a different, like, scouting process than other people that you want to induct, that you're like, I need more information, but I know what timeline they're from, and how you get in contact with like if it's an older wrestler from back in the days, like from segregation, to try to get in contact with a family member? Is it like now that we have the internet and social media, is it easier to find people in the family that the person's long passed away, to be able to get in contact with them, to get more information about them, so you could possibly induct their family members and stuff like that?
Yes, that's what we do. We hunt them down. But
Mm.
we have a lot of people that are involved also, and that they're very committed to the same mission and vision as I am. And we all do this, like this is like a labor of love. There's no money, I'm not making any money from doing this. This is something that I'm doing because it must be done, and it must be done by people who have the understanding and the facts, right? Otherwise, if corporate wrestling interests run this, then they run it according to their own corporate interests. That's why it was like I didn't have a lot of resources, but we were like, we have to do this now because we have to start making a difference now. And I'm so grateful for everybody that's helping and be a part of it. And we definitely have plans for this induction this year. I think we're going to start in May at the event at the ECW Arena. We're going to be
Ooh.
doing something, probably inducting and interviewing some people already and notifying them of their nominations and things like that.
What does it feel like to approach, or like approach or give that person, if they're still alive, give them that information like you've been inducted? What does that feel like when you see their face? Does it feel like you gave them like that Christmas present, the last present under the tree? Does that feel like that for you, Angel?
Yes, it is the greatest thing. I'm telling you, there have been, when I saw Wendy Richter, like it took me a while to gain my composure. I was teared up, overjoyed to like give this woman her, award. Wendy Richter,
Yeah.
like, and Liz Chase really knew Wendy really, really well. And in part, that's why it was a little emotional for me because Liz died back in 1999, so she didn't get to see me make it to ECW, and she didn't get to be a part of this Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame. And that same thing with Luna. They were such dear sisters to me. Um, I really wish they were here
Yeah,
to be a part of it.
me too. I really I I said, I'm 41, and I remember watching Luna in the in the WWE WWF. But it's kind of funny. I was in a house with a former CEO, so like ECW was on, like, because I lived in New York and like in Long Island. So when ECW was on, it was about like 11, 12 o'clock. And I was like tippy toeing down the stairs to watch the small TV and put on and the TV to watch it. Now we hear that because the ESPN had ECW had that static TV first. I'm like, with the volume on the TV
Yeah.
down. So Joey Styles' voice don't wake my parents like, hey, you're watching ECW. Like, yeah. So that's my childhood watching ECW. But do you have any stories um about Luna? Like that have you ever we ever backstage with her, like at any shows, and had any fun experiences with her?
Oh, I had a lot of fun experiences with her. She was great. I adore her so much. She was a really good sister to me, that's for sure. Um, she she was like probably had some kind of mental illness. There were definitely differences in her personality at times. And she used to confide in me because she knew me outside of wrestling. So our friendship was a little bit different. She was just like a couple of blocks away from me, and we used to go to walks together. And this is like when she was in WW, I think it was F the first time. And we would go for walks in the neighborhood and just chat. We were just neighbors. But she knew I was the martial arts teacher, and I knew she was the lady wrestler because people in the neighborhood, it was, it was a nice neighborhood, and people made us meet each other, and then we would go on walks all the time, and she would tell me that about her struggles with mental health, and
Mhm.
that she regretted her behavior sometimes, that she felt like it was out of control. And
Mm.
I used to, she so when I started wrestling, she took me under her wing, and she was like, she gave me great advice. She would smarten me up about things, and she was always very different with me, and it was so funny. And I wrestled her a bunch of times, and when I was new, you know, a greenhorn, uh I would go to the show and be getting ready, and they were like, "You're gonna wrestle Luna?" And the guys and the promoter would be like, "Okay, all right, don't be nervous." They were nervous. They were nervous. They were like, "It could be," because they had experienced her in her unstableness, and they didn't know what good friends she and I were. They thought I was just some green girl, and she probably beaten up so many green girls and spit them, chewed them up, and spit them out that everybody was afraid for me, you know.
Yeah.
And she got there, and she was just perfect to me, and they were just like looking at each other like, "What is going on?" Like they were so surprised that she wasn't a mess.
Mm. What was it
But
like?
yeah,
I'm sorry. Go on. Sorry.
oh, no, go ahead.
Go on. Get finish your story about Luna. I was like, my voice, my mind was like, I guess I just interviewed a female wrestler from Canada. I don't know if you know this. Um, it's a female wrestler from Canada that does movies. She films. She's like an amateur director. She did a movie about Luna. She filmed an indie film about Luna Vachon.
I heard
Calamity
about
Kate. Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I don't know how to see it. I wish I knew. I, I wish I knew them. I'd reach out to them and see if they want to put it on my network on Ikuza TV. I would definitely stream it.
I could definitely connect you with Calamity Kate. She's really nice. She's super sweet. She was like, Joe, when the movie's out, I'll send you the link so you can watch it. So if I get the link, I'll send it to you, Angel, so you can watch it. We can watch it together.
That'd be great. Yeah, and definitely hook us up because, I'm sure she wants more people to watch it. And
I'm
so
excited because I love
maybe I
Luna.
can help.
Luna's part of my childhood, like part of my teen years.
She was a pioneer. Like nobody did what Luna did. Everything that Luna did was the first time a woman did that. You know,
Yeah.
that's what's so amazing from her. And what I really understood about Luna was she didn't really understand just how precious and how talented she really was. I feel like people beat her down because she was so great, and that's the one thing that I hate about this business. I hate when people see somebody who's really talented, and instead of celebrating them and trying to help them be even greater, they beat them down because they're intimidated by that person's talent, and they feel like that person's better than them. So they have to beat them down so they don't like steal their spot. There's this weird freaking thing that I cannot stand, that wrestlers will actually say out loud, "Oh, that person's got my spot." No, bro or sister. Your spot and what you are destined to do in this business is yours and yours alone. But if you are so petty and so insecure that you see somebody with talent that's good and they're maybe doing something and similar to what you're doing, and instead you get threatened by that, you suck and you're part of the problem. And
Mm.
it's your problem. It's a deficiency in you. If you would work inwardly and do meditation and go and prosper your soul and build up yourself, you would understand that you are also talented, and it takes many talented people to make a whole like group. You need to have like a group of people who are interchangeably able to work with each other. That's what pro wrestling is. So if somebody's better than you, that's the person you should be hanging out with. You should be going to the school that that person goes to and training with them and get as good as them instead of worrying about somebody stealing your spot, because that's nonsense. That doesn't exist. Everybody gets their spot that they got, and that's what they're here for. I believe in like um quantum mechanics and entanglement theory and spooky action. I believe that that is the how of how God works. If you believe in God, or if you believe in the spirit, or if you believe in karma and how energy works, you know, the way that the universe is set up is that you are born here now at this time with your talents and abilities to fulfill a purpose at a time, and you need to understand that so that you can mesh in harmony with people who are doing the similar thing and fulfilling the same purpose at the same time. And that's how you build a positive, prosperous, successful, good, healthy space in this business, is by having that intentionality, those vibes out there. And you do it because it's also what you were born to do. So, how can anybody take that? And if you have that understanding, then you won't be so insecure.
Yeah, totally. Actually, we have the guy right here in the chat. He was one of my guests. He actually wrestles in the UK. He's up really late. It's 8:19 here in America, and I think it's like 1 o'clock in the morning in UK or something like that. Am I off? I think the time I'm all way off with the number. Like I'm usually really good with time zones, but I think it's like 1 in the morning or something like that in the UK. So he's up. He's hanging out with the dude and the angel right here at Dudes at Ringside Podcast. Best thing ever.
Holla,
Yeah,
Shaka.
yeah.
Thanks for
I've been
hanging
around too.
with us.
Yeah, I've been hanging around too many with Alpha Junior and the Adewasi family. I'm always showing Chaka up, and I'm like my brain, my grandfather, your soul, be like, "You're not Hawaiian, Joe. You're Puerto Rican." My grandfather be
Oh,
like
that's
this:
funny, Joe.
"You're Puerto Rican, Joe. You're not Hawaiian." They're Samoan, Grandpa. Ow! But they like
Well,
me.
when I first started wrestling, my name was Riptide. So I used to do this all the time because I would bill myself from Fort Lauderdale Beach, Florida, which is the truth. That's where I lived. And yeah, so before I was the Prodiget, I was Riptide. And even after being the Prodiget, I was Riptide. So this was my gimmick, Bubba.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do that anyway because like instead of saying doing like this or doing like this to people, because I work with a girl that's hearing impaired, and if I do this, she'll be like, "Hey, my boyfriend." Oh, I know how to do my name in sign language, but it'll probably reverse me backwards on camera, and it's Joe. That's Joe. That's Joe in sign
This is
language.
the way I do my name in sign language.
Well, I'm known as my mom. That my people know me as the Crow. So like me, I'm always like.
That's
I'm
funny.
like, the crows are watching you. I just don't even have to say the crows. I just do this. And they're like, or just point at a
So,
bird. Yeah.
So we were talking about hardcore before,
Yes.
right? And we didn't talk about, I don't think we talked about what are my favorite weapons to
Oh, yes,
use
yes. Let's go into that. That's my favorite part.
and what
Yes.
are my favorite hardcore type of matches. I've
Okay, if
done
you had to
every
pick a top 10 favorite weapons that you have used in a match, what would you be your top 10 favorite weapons?
well, definitely table.
Okay.
It's tables are great. Chair, kendo stick. I think I've used a chair a lot.
Yeah.
Geez, I'm trying to think what haven't I used? This would be a shorter list. I think I've used everything. A ring bell. Uh,
That's my favorite one to use in a video game. Like it's the hardest one to grab because nowadays they don't let you grab the bell at all in the game. No, no bell.
because there are rules and rules suck.
Yeah,
Take it
suck.
from an ECW original.
It's suck. Uh, you could have just Joey
Um,
Styles' voice. Rules suck. Like, there we go.
I
More.
would say the um bats are good as well.
Okay.
Oh, the strap. If you've
Oh,
ever been in a Texas bull rope or a strap match, the strap is great, man, because that
oof,
really welts people up. I mean, you
oof.
really mess somebody up with the straps.
It's what I've seen. Oof. Hearing that sound, it makes you think of when you were a kid and you were bad. That like,
Yes, well, that's why it's good.
yeah.
And the styles of hardcore match, I mean, I would say I like using ladders in a match, but I don't like ladder matches
Mm,
because you're grabbing something from the top. And I am just such a wrestler and I love grappling so much that I hate the idea of a match winning by anything other than a pin or a submission. You
mm,
know, like even with all the different weapons matches and stuff that's out there, you still have to pin somebody or get them to submit in order to win or pass them out, right? If you knock them out legitimately.
mm,
Um, but ladder matches, you can only win by grabbing something off of the top, and that I think is not as much fun.
mm.
It's
And also, this what we just went through with your foot. I guess the ladder match would be like totally out of your repertoire now because of the feet thing.
No, I've done no, that's not true. Do I would be more innovative with it so that I didn't have to jump off of onto concrete.
Yeah. Now I just felt
I
bad for
might
you.
use it a different way.
Yeah, I just feel bad because you went through something like that with your feet and you jumped off and it was like the spot was not done right. But with you being like a submission with your MMA training, do you think what would be the weapon you would use the most in a finish that you would grab first to add with your finish?
So probably either a chair or a kendo stick because my finish is the Wings of Angel, which is the same as the Rings of Saturn.
Mm.
That's my submission.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's the double hooks through and then the stretch under the chin.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable.
It sounds like it.
That's
It just
why I
made me
love
want to go to the
it. That's why it's
chiropractor.
a good finish.
Yeah, it makes me want to go to the chiropractor and just, what Joe, why are you at
Yeah.
the chiropractor today? A wrestler told me about a move and I think I broke something in my neck. Did they do it to you? No, I just feel like they did. Just words words hurt. Words hurt. They look at my neck and they're
Yeah.
like, "There's nothing there, Joe. Your neck's fine." I don't know. It sounded like it hurt. I heard a pop when she said the neck goes back. You don't. No, Joe. That's not that. That's you just being a wussy because you heard the words and you got scared. Like, fans. um. So in closing, Angel, is if there was any wrestlers that you have not faced on the indie scene yet that you want to wrestle, who would they be? Who are some of the wrestlers you want to wrestle?
I want to wrestle DJ Simone again, and I want to wrestle. Let me think about this. Um, Mother, she's
Mother
she's a good
Endless?
time.
Mother.
Mother Endless, yes,
Oh
yeah,
yes.
she's a good time.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoy wrestling her. Um, there's really it would be yeah, I don't know. Christina Marie, I love her.
She's
She's
awesome.
great. She's got that style, you know. Um, I probably have to search through the indies roster and really see who's around right at the
My friend
moment.
Tracy totally
Remember,
agrees.
I'm on the mend since October. I pulled off of wrestling, so and it's probably going to be until maybe this summer or the fall before I get cleared to go back into the ring again. So
Mm.
I don't know.
Have you been going to shows and been at like your merch table at least? Been at shows to like interact with fans, or you just haven't been going to shows?
No, I haven't been because I can't drive. It's my right foot that I had the operation on.
Oh man. Oh.
Yeah, so when you have the cast on, and even if when you have to be everywhere with the boot still, if you have that on your foot and you're driving and you get into an accident, it's automatically your fault. And
Mm.
you might have a problem with your insurance paying. So I did
Oh.
not do that because
No.
I,
No.
I
Remember,
I don't
kids.
take those kind of chances, you
No.
know?
Remember, kids. Safety first. If you're hurt, don't unless you have a friend that could drive you where work. Stay home. Stay home.
Right. So I'll be going to the one in May. I don't remember the dates. I'm so sorry, but it's at ECW Arena, the 2300 building. So
Okay.
I'll be there. I'll probably have a table or be sharing with somebody else. I would say if you find Gary Wolf, he or Jason Knight, they can tell you where I'm at in the
Jason would be like, "Oh, Joe, you better. Hopefully, you could show like send this link to Jason and be like, yeah, I was on. You missed it because Jason Knight has missed his opportunity a few times. He wanted to do it, never got back to me. He's a big guy. He could find me. I'm little. It's hard not to find me in a crowd. Look for the red glasses and a blue coat. That's me.
Well, Jason and I are going to be doing our own podcast, but it's going to be on Ikuza exclusively.
Okay. Okay. Well, tell him I say hi and all the best and congratulations because I saw the awesome post on Facebook. You know, so happy.
Yay!
Yay, woohoo! Jason. I don't know why I'm cheering, but it's mainly because I'm
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, listen, Jason is amazing talent in wrestling business. If you watch ECW and you don't know who Jason Knight is, I don't know what you're watching
yeah.
because he is the sexiest man on the planet and he's always been. So you need to go back and watch some more archives if you didn't know that. He's an amazing talent. He's in the great shape
Oh my
and
god.
he's slaying everybody in the ring. And if you want to learn how to wrestle and you like the ECW style, I would consider going to Jason Knight School when it opens, and it will open this summer in
Wow.
New Jersey, South Jersey.
That's
So
awesome. So,
Stay tuned.
yeah. So, if there was any young, I want to say 18 to 19-year-old male or females, or they that wanted to get into the business, what kind of advice would you have for them?
Um, a couple of things. I would go to a school where people that are teaching the school have been on TV. If they've never been on TV, then I wouldn't go to that school.
Mhm.
Because if your goal is to be an excellent professional wrestler, once you get yourself to a level where you can get hired to be an on TV personality, then you understand the business. And I would at least start with that. It doesn't mean that just because somebody has gotten there, that they know how to help somebody else get there. So that's another piece. If you're looking for a school, not only somebody who's been there, but somebody who's taught people, and those people have gone on to be on TV. Like a lot of people don't know, I was Molly Holly's first teacher.
Oh, wow. What was that
Yes.
like?
Oh, she is an amazing human being. I will tell you, Nora is just an amazing, and she is worthy of being in many, many Hall of Fames because she's an amazing human, amazing talent, an amazing wrestler, and not only wrestler, but she's a great coach too now herself. So
She was one of my
she
favorites
checks,
besides Lita, yeah. She
yeah,
was one of my favorites back in the day. Besides Lita was my first ever like her outfits and everything, but Molly Holly, it was something about Molly that lit up a camera as soon as she turned and smiled and she said her lines, whatever she was gonna say, lines, sorry, whatever she had to say. Immediately, you could be eating bags of chips and talking to your bros about girls, and wow, she got my attention. The hair and the outfits, and then when she turned heel and she was part of Right to Censor, she dyed her hair brown or black, and she just everybody could be distracted looking at their favorite toy they just got from the show, and then Molly would just get their attention immediately. It was something about her that caught a camera's eye, caught a wrestling fan's eye. Either loved her to death from Molly Holly or Mighty Molly, or hated her because part of Right to Censor. And it was like something about her. She has that it factor about her.
yes, and she always had it. From the day I met her shortly after she moved to Florida from Minnesota and was looking to find a wrestling school. And she had it, and she was sweet and kind and very motivated, and she would follow through with everything, and she would listen. The most important thing when you're learning something is talk less and listen more.
Hmm.
You're there to learn. So shut up and listen, because listening is how you learn. You have
Yeah.
two ears, one mouth. Listen twice as much as you speak. And really, when you speak, you should be asking questions. It's wrestling looks easy because the people who are you're watching who are on TV, that's how good they are. They are that good. What they are doing is extremely difficult on so many levels. You actually literally are multitasking when you're wrestling because you're thinking about the moves, you're thinking about the next move, and then you're also at the same time looking for the camera, figuring out where you have to do this move to ensure the camera catches it. And at the same time, you got to keep yelling at people or keep the crowd involved in it. So it is tremendously challenging. But when you're around good people that know how to do it, you can learn how to do it.
Yep.
Um, I also was like a mentor to Mercedes Martinez and many, many women I still talk to online and mentor them from I was their first match. AJ Lee, I was her first match.
Wow.
Serena Deeb, I was her first match. Um, Mickey James, I was I
Love
was
Mickey.
I mentored her when she was at WEW, and Amber O'Neill is another one that I mentored and helped train and work with. Yeah,
Been
there's
trying to work with her.
literally dozens of women that they're like love me
That's
because I
awesome.
helped them through with their first match,
That's
and they were
awesome.
scared, nervous. So
Angel, I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming on Dudes at Ringside podcast to share your stories. And I want to thank you. This is so cool. Please tell all your wrestling friends that ever want to come on a podcast and just shoot talk about life, wrestling, whatever, and just come and share their stories with the Ringside crew and me here on the Joe Panther Variety Show. You guys are welcome whenever you want. I love my wrestling fans. I love my wrestling family. Me with my grandfather being a wrestler, I'm just a fan that wants to talk to wrestlers on the internet, at night or during the day. I'm Joe Panther the Third. Your turn.
and I am Angel Orsini, and you can follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram at the Angel Orsini. I'm also, you could go to my website, angelorsini.net, and go also download Ikuza TV because I have a talk show on there. We have the New England Music Hall of Fame, and the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame is going to start having news there. There's also additional wrestling podcasts on Ikuza TV. And again, Wrestling Revelations will be a podcast that will be hosted by me and Jason Knight. So that's going to pop off this month, right around WrestleMania.
Oh wow! Oh my gosh, I'm excited. You got to send me that. I would definitely want to check that out because you're part of my Ringside family now, my Ringside crew family, and Jason's been like that for a few years. So, but thank you so much. I'm Joe Panther Third. This is Angel, and we will catch you in the next one.
Peace out.